Well, hello there. My name is Lisa Callahan, and I am the founder of the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group. I also have an amazing coaching company called Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System, where I help women fix their invisible emotional eating habits by taking a journey of self-discovery. So today, our topic is how to open your mind to get out of the dieting vortex. Keep in mind that a vortex is where you're like swirling and swirling and swirling and swirling. And it's like a whirlwind, and you just go down into the center, and it just takes you away. The reason why we want to get off of the dieting vortex and why it's an important word to consider is because for me, when I was dieting, which I have been on over 30, maybe even 50 diets in my life, and if you're anything like me, you have felt that those diets were meant to keep you out of the eating everything vortex. And so for me, I would think to myself, well, if I'm not on a diet, I would then be in a vortex where I'd be swirling and swirling and swirling and spinning and being out of control. Now, because I have been able to open my mindset to a new level of awareness, I don't think that way anymore. So I want to be able to teach you the difference and why it is that the diets are actually the thing that's taking you into the vortex. And when you're off of a diet and you can just eat organically and authentically and be who you are and love yourself from the inside out and get to the root cause of the problem as to why you need to be on a diet to begin with, well, then what flips the switch is that now you're no longer looking for control to stay out of the vortex. You're just enjoying freedom. And I didn't know that this was a thing. I thought that it had to be all or nothing. I thought that if I didn't stay on a diet, I would go swirling, spinning out of control. And I thought that the diet was the thing that kept me, regimen, kept me in my space, right? Where I was comfortable. The thing about it, though, that I didn't realize is that I was comfortable, but in my uncomfortableness. So is that you too? Are you comfortably uncomfortable? And I really want you to think about that, because when we go on a diet, it's a very surface level solution. Diets are meant for specific things, like if you're allergic to nuts and you need to go on a nut-free diet. If you have a specific competition that you're training for and you need to go on a diet to go into the front of the competition and then you have an ending date. Those are reasons to go on a diet. Or if you're having some irritation in your body and you need to go on a high fiber or low fiber, or whatever, like those are diets. To go on a diet to lose weight, though, that is actually keeping you up on the surface level, trying to find solutions to a problem that is underneath the surface. And so you'll stay there forever, but that surface level, that's the vortex. And when you go on the diet, it takes you into a place where now you're kind of on the fear side of your mindset. Like you're afraid that if you don't go on the diet that you're going to gain more weight, or you're never going to be able to stop eating, or you're going to go binge on a binge or something. And so the reason why you would go on a diet, it's always fear-based. It's never coming from the inside voice, which tells you that you can love yourself, you can trust yourself, you can be confident, you can take ownership of your truth and how you feel on the inside. So for me, a lot of times a diet was to keep me very, very limited in what I could eat. And it was a punishment. And if I went outside of that diet, I would punish myself even further by over-exercising. I would be mad at myself. I would call myself names. It was a terrible spin, but the diet was actually keeping me there, because the things that I felt after I blew my diet, which I always did, and so do you, the things that I felt about myself, I felt those things to begin with. The diet gave me this like high hope that I would be able to feel differently about myself. But because I felt that way to begin with, the diet just reminded me of how I felt to begin with. So it's like the diet was this big, like puffy pink cloud in the sky that was like, ooh, now I won't feel this way about myself anymore. But then I would fail at the diet and then I would feel worse. So the diet made me trust myself less. The diet made me feel less confident. The diet had me self-loathing even more. The diet had me even further like knowing the truth that I was not worth anything, that I was worthless. Like the diet confirmed it, because every time that I went on a diet thinking that I could get out of this, then I would fail, and then I would feel even worse on the flip end. So this is not a way to live. I promise you that there is a better way. There's another way. There's a different way. And the thing that will keep you stuck in this space of where you're thinking that the diet is the solution, and that you're not recognizing that being off the diet is where you'll be able to tap into your inner voice and like know who you are. The thing that's keeping you stuck in that feeling is your mindset. And so that's why I want to help you today open your mind to a new level of awareness, so that way you can get out of the diet vortex. So the very first thing that we need to do to be able to open the mind is to change the frame of mind from a have to mindset to a get to. So I want you to write that down on your piece of paper. Change my mindset from a have to a get to. Now, let's talk about some things that you think you have to do. So many times women will come to me and they'll tell me that they're very stressed out. And because they have to go to work, they have to take care of their families, they have to deal with their, teenagers who are moody all the time. They have to deal with negative people. They have to find, I don't know, just whatever you would think of, like literally take a piece of paper and think of all the things that you feel like you have to do. And then if you change the frame of the wording to get to, you'll see that there's a very different twist at the end of this. So let's say, for example, that you might say like, I have to deal with negative people. Actually, it's interesting. If you flip that frame to I get to, you'll be able to see where you'll see the person who might be negative in your life in a different light. Anytime there's negative energy, it's because there's unhappiness. And if you have negative energy, well, you can vouch for that because that's coming from an unhappiness as well. And sometimes we think that if we just push everything else away and we're just here by ourselves, that we'll be okay. But if the negative energy is coming from inside of you and you have someone outside of you that has negative energy as well, they'll be like magnets. It's literally like negative energy like grows and it spreads like a cancer. So one person's negative and then that makes the other person negative, and so on and so on and so forth. But if the negative energy starts within you first, even if the negative energy starts within that other person first as well, you'll be drawn to each other. Misery loves company. So to be able to see this from a different frame of mind and to say, okay, maybe I have to feel negatively because of my situation. I have to feel like this because of my stress. If you change the frame of mind to, I get to feel like this because of my situation. I get to feel like this because of my stress. You'll recognize that you also get to have a choice within that. See, when we feel like we have to, it feels like a drag. It's literally like as if there's a rope being tied around you and you're just I have to go. Like I'm just being drug around here and that I have no choice in my own life. When you frame it into a get to, it's like, oh, okay. So I have all this negative stuff going on. And if I want to be negative about it myself, that's great. I get to do that. I can do that if I want to, if I choose to, I get to. And so if you change it to I get to, it gives you a little bit more power. And so the small-minded version of yourself is the one that's kind of feeling like the have to. It's like, there's no other solution. If that person doesn't change, I can't change. And I'm just stuck here. I have to. I have no choice, right? If the powerfully minded version of yourself can move into I get to, and you recognize that, yeah, you get to be in a bad mood if you want to. You get to sit on the couch and eat all of the cookies and then feel like crap about yourself later. You get to do that. You do. That is a choice. And so you have to make certain that you're aware that it's a choice that you're making. And so when I framed this in my mind and I was like, oh, wow, like I feel like crap after I eat this, I get to do that. I get to feel like garbage. I get to put all this chemicals and stuff into my body. I get to do that. I get to do that because I get to say that I can't handle the stress in my life. And I get to say that I have tons of anxiety, and I get to say that I'm drained from my day. And I get to say that my husband drives me nuts, and that my kids are driving me nuts, and that the dogs drive me nuts, and that the people at work are driving me nuts. I get to say that. And so because I get to say that, I also get to eat food, and then I get to punish myself. Isn't this great? Right? So when you think about all of the things that you get to do because you're up at the surface level, and you're trying to create a surface level solution, right? So you get to go on a diet too. But at the same time, what's underneath that? Like, okay, so I get to do all this. Great. I get to feel like garbage. Why? Why do I want to? And so if we can start to shift our mindset and start to reframe it and say, okay, well, yeah, I get to do that. But why do I want to? And then be like, well, actually, I don't really want to. It's like, okay, well, now what? So this is where the mindset has to open a little bit. And the first place to start is to shift the have to's to get to's, because then you don't feel like such a victim anymore. You don't feel like it's like, well, I can't do this, so I have to do this. No, you get to do this. And if it sucks for you, well, then you get to do that too. And that is a choice. So the second thing that we want to talk about on how to open the mindset is to get out of fear. So many times we think that these situations that we're in or whatever that lead us to want to emotionally eat, we feel like we have no choice. And we feel like they are our mindset gets kind of locked into that same place where we feel like we're somewhat of a victim of our own circumstances. And now that might be true. I was a victim of my own circumstances too. I mean, I was telling myself over and over how fat I was, how ugly I was, how stupid I was, how irresponsible I was, how unorganized I was. Like the list goes on with the things that were rolling around in my head. And when it came out, even with other people, I felt like other people were interfering with me trying to do the right thing, like the things that I wanted to do, because I felt like, they were kind of in my way. It really wasn't that way though. I was in my way. I was in my way. And I'm certain that if you're hearing this and you're understanding and connecting with what I'm saying, then you can see where you might be standing in your own way too. So much of this is fear-based. And the flip side of the coin from fear would be love. Well, at the root cause of my problems, I didn't love myself. So it's kind of hard to be your own best friend and your own cheerleader when you're down in the dumps being like, you're awful, you're ugly, you're not good. Like, so if you have this deep, dark rooted, little inside voice, in our coaching program, we call that little inside voice Sister Susie. And it's this little like nagging, like in the back of your head, you know what I'm talking about. Well, if that's there in the root and it's just calling up, being like, you're a loser, you're not good. It doesn't matter how many diets you go on the surface. As soon as you start to do the diets well, like as soon as you lose the 50 pounds, something happens. It's like, and that's the voice. That's the Sister Susie voice. It's coming down and being like, not so far, don't go anywhere. And it's like a trick. It's like a trick to kind of see like, I can do it. And then that voice pulls you back down. It's like, no, you can't. Right down the vortex over and over and over and over again. And it's all fear-based, really. And so if you feel afraid to move through this, to go a little bit below the surface, to get out of the diet thing, right? Diets are, again, like if you're going on a diet to lose weight, which most of us do, weight is a surface level problem, number one. And number two, weight is a symptom of an underlying problem. So it's just on the top, but underneath there's an actual problem. And sometimes we're afraid to move to that space and we're not ready and we don't want to know. And we just want to like close our eyes and go in the diet, and that's fine. You get to do that. That's wonderful. But at the same time, if you are afraid to move through and take a little bit of a different approach, so fear, and you can write this down, fear is an opportunity to summon courage. Fear is an opportunity to summon courage. Now, if that deep, dark voice inside of you says you're not courageous, you're not brave, you're not capable, like if that deep, dark voice says that, then yeah, you get to believe that deep, dark voice. You get to. Don't have to, you get to. So if you are doing it, if you're believing it, then that's where you'll stay. And so you'll get exactly what you're asking for. There you go. The third thing is to make new habits. Don't focus on breaking old habits. Focus on making new ones. This is a concept that I teach in Crush That Food Thing, and it's called adding in so that you can crowd out. What it means is that if you add in new habits into your daily life, like if you add in, let's say you're trying to break the habit of sitting on the couch after work, but instead you start a new habit of meeting a friend. She happens to have a dog, you happen to have a dog, and you're like, let's take the dogs for a walk for 15 minutes after work every day. Great, that sounds like fun. You created a new habit. So guess what? There's 15 less minutes that you're going to be sitting on that couch. And I want you to think about it like that. So if you were to say to yourself, well, I'm trying to break the habit of sitting on the couch, so I'm going to take the dog for a 15-minute walk every day, it puts a different spin on it, because it's like there's a goal to break this old habit. What that does is it gives the old habit life. It gives it energy. And we don't want to give the old habit energy. We want to ignore it, like forget about it. We don't need nothing to see here. Just go away. Let's create a new habit. And listen, 15 minutes, you're outside, you're in the fresh air, you're getting exercise, you're not eating, you're not sitting on the couch. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? So create new habits so that way you can break the old habits without focusing on the old habits. Another thing to add in to change your mindset, because what we're doing here today, again, is we are opening up your mindset so that you can get off of the dieting vortex, is to move into a mindset that things happen for you, not to you. Again, when we're in that mindset where it's like, I have to versus I get to, it kind of feels similar to like, oh, this is what I have to deal with. This happened to me. And so if you think about things happening for you, listen, we all come from different pasts. If I went through my history book, you'd probably be horrified by some of the things that I've been through. And yet at the same time, to me, you go through what you grow through what you go through. And so I never, ever, ever look at any of the things that happened to me as happening to me. I think that they happened for me so that I could be sitting here in this chair today, because if they didn't happen, I would never have been as capable, as resilient, as conscientious of having my intentions. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today had I not had what happened to me in the past, right? So I feel that it happened for me, not to me. And when you can flip that switch and reframe it, nothing in your past is ever going to be an anchor that's going to root you down to the problem where that little voice inside's calling up and going, you're worthless. Because you'll be thinking like, oh, actually, this happened for me. And now I'm going to move out of it and I'm going to move into a different mindset and I'm going to change my life. And so the last part of this is to envision your future self. I am willing to accept that I have my best interest at heart. Many people in the world will say, I am my own worst enemy. Okay, you get to say that. You get to say that, no problem. That's fine. It's just that if you say that you're your own worst enemy, that's what you're going to get. You're going to have to prove it. And so if you want to prove that you're your own worst enemy, you are going to have to do lots and lots of mean things to yourself, because enemies do mean things to each other, right? If you have an enemy, I don't know, it doesn't seem like you're going to be skippity doo dah along. You're going to be trying to trip yourself up, hurt yourself, it's like, it doesn't make sense, right? So it's, the saying that you can write yourself a little note. I am willing to accept that I have my best interest at heart. If you are willing to accept that you have your best interest at heart, you will be able to open up your mindset to a new level of awareness. Therefore, you'll be able to get to the root cause of the problem, and you'll also be able to change yourself as a human being, like literally open your mind, because right now you don't know any better, so you can't do any better. Once you know better, you will be able to do better, and you will see things through a wider lens. The curtain will pull back, you will change. And so because your perspective changes, the whole situation will change. There's a saying that I really like, and it says, don't climb a mountain so the world can see you. Climb the mountain so that you can see the world. It's the perspective, right? So many times we do things because we want to prove ourselves. We're in survival mode. Like we feel like we're just victims of all the circumstances, and we have to do this and we have to do that. And this is what I ended up with, and whatever. And I understand there's a lot of deep rooted pain. That's where we have to go to move through and to open the mindset, to reframe everything so that we can get out of the vortex. All right, everybody have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.